What's up, Heavy Hooks? Rodney Smith back here in the classroom. And I was just thinking, hey, what are our kids learning in school? What are they learning in school? I just want to go over some of the things that I think that they are learning. And the reason this is important is many people think that schools are apolitical, which means A means not. So they think schools are not political. There's nothing that is not political because we live in a political structure. So everything that we do and don't do is political. Even the definition of politics supports that. And I'll put that up because I think it's the fifth definition of politics says it's the complex interactions of human beings. So we're always interacting with each other. But if we do not think about what our kids are learning and think about ways to teach kids ourselves the things that we think are important, then they're going to pick up ideas that are going to hurt them politically, which is going to hurt them economically, hurt them spiritually, hurt them on an individual level, and hurt them communally and in their families. Because everyone lives in a political environment. Everybody uses money. Money is a government creation, therefore it's political. They go to a school that is regulated by the government. So we cannot say that something like school is not political. The money the schools get comes from the government. The tax money from the property taxes. That's governmental stuff. This is political, all right? If it's dealing with the government, it's political. But listen, I want to look at some things that I think our children are learning that we need to address. So I think they're learning that all great people are either dead, like Martin Luther King, Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, whoever else that's dead, or our kids are learning that they are living entertainers like rappers, actors, singers, dancers. So they're learning that great people are either dead or they're entertainers. Okay? Oh, it could be dead entertainers. They are learning that learning is not as important as grades. Now, the reason I'm phrasing it this way is because they are cheating. Even before COVID hit and people were on their computers, people were cheating. They were using their cell phones to cheat, airdropping answers to each other, emailing answers to each other, because they know that parents and teachers are only talking about grades, mentors, they only want these grades, or they'll talk about test scores. All right? Because remember, I told you that we mirror the structure of our society. Remember the structure of America? And at the center of our structure is money, material, wealth, and physical comfort. And kids are being told that they need to go to school, get good grades, get test scores so they can go to good colleges, so that they then can get money, a nice job, a nice car after they get a nice job, a nice house, all this material stuff. Because again, at the center of our culture, what everybody's being told to do is get money and material wealth so you can have physical comfort. So learning is not as important as these grades or test scores, and definitely not more important than money and capital, which is at the center of our culture. And politically, this is what they're learning. They're learning that politics is just voting. Politics cannot be about just voting because when there was chattel slavery going on in the United States, I don't think that the slaves, the southern states and the northern states had a big vote, and then by unanimous decision through the vote, the popular vote wasn't majority, let's end slavery. I don't think that's what happened. I don't think the vote determined whether or not we were going to end slavery. I don't think that the vote ended Jim Crow. I don't think the vote ended redlining. I just don't think that it happened. I don't think that the people from Great Britain came over here and had a vote with the Native Americans whether or not they were going to be colonized or not. I don't think France went and voted with the people on the Haitian island. I don't think they voted for these things. So the idea that voting is the only form of political action is ridiculous. Now, it is true that that's what they're being taught, because think about the only thing we talk about in regards to politics. Lately, these last 4 years, it's been Trump, right? Got to get Trump out. Or when it was time for the election, make sure you vote for Biden. Make sure you vote for Biden. Before that, make sure you vote for Obama. And 4 years before that, make sure you vote for Obama. It's all about voting. Go vote. Our ancestors died so we could vote. I don't think that they died for us to vote. I don't think they died for us to be equal. Because it's not about equality. It's not about voting. It's about your humanity. Because if you are not human, then you can be turned into a slave. You could be turned into a serf. You could be turned into a monster. And all of these things can be manipulated, controlled, and murdered by those people who are humans. This has been a struggle of human rights, because we are humans. And if we are human and we are sovereign beings that must be treated as sovereign beings, and you cannot just kill and murder us and keep us from resources, because if we're sovereign from God, then we have every right to resources and to travel where we want, just as any other sovereign human being. But if we're only talking about civil rights and voting, then we don't have to talk about how I'm taking your humanity and treating you as something less than a human, correct? Because you can, there's not the same type of laws for insects and dogs as it is for humans. Insects and dogs are not going to start a nation, be a part of a nation, and do things nations do, create currency, engage in international trade. Insects and dogs and cats do not do these things. So they're not going to have the same types of rights as a sovereign human. So we have to start thinking differently. We have to start teaching our kids differently, or they will be taken advantage of politically, especially if they're black. No matter where they are in this world, if they're black, they need to be politically educated. There's no separation between politics and economics. There's no separation. All right, because every space on this earth is involved in some type of political structure and some type of economic structure, and the economics is controlled and run by government laws and regulations, which makes it very political. As soon as you start talking about people interacting and divvying up resources and determining who can have access to resources, who can't, who's going to protect these resources, what kind of currency you're going to have, how much currency can these people have, who's going to create the currency, who's going to be able to devalue it, make more money, put more money in the system. You're talking about politics. There's no separation between economics and politics. All right, they are different disciplines, but they are connected, and we have to start teaching our children. That's why this is so important, because we have so many problems in this world, and if we do not teach our children to read and teach our kids to organize and be able to work in teams and groups and how to solve problems as a team, then we're going to be screwed, because things are not getting better economically and politically for us. People are not getting richer and richer. Like I said in the last video, I've been working for 20 plus years and I haven't cracked 50,000 yet. I have multiple degrees. So if this is true, then what is it going to be like for the next generation? And look at what we characterize as work. Why are we allowing other people to tell us what work is? These are social things that we choose to create. We choose to keep in place. We can choose to create a different system. We can choose to pay people for different things. We can choose who's going to pay these people for doing different jobs. It's our job as humans to create the society we want to see. We don't have to just take what we have. We keep telling our kids that we have to. Our actions are louder than our words. So if we only talk about politics in reference to voting for governors and presidents, then they're going to think that's all politics is about, and it's not. And this voting thing has never solved our largest problems, like slavery being one, redlining, Jim Crow. It wasn't solved by a vote. It was solved by people organizing, struggling together to figure out how to solve it, putting their lives on the line together for a principled purpose, and being willing to be vulnerable enough to be wrong, be vulnerable enough to die for principles that show people's humanity. Right? Again, this is Heavy Hooks, Rodney Smith. Let's think about these thoughts about what we're teaching our children through our actions and inactions. Let's think about what politics actually involves, what it actually is, and let's start defining these terms for ourselves and using them in a way that helps us so we can help our children, because they're going to remember what we did and did not do. And I'm making these videos, I'm writing books, creating music for the future, so no one could ever say once I'm dead that I did nothing to try to change the situation of me and my people, right? And it starts with what we do with ourselves and what we do with our families. So I'm reading, I'm writing, and I'm trying to create a curriculum that will help my family and hopefully other families. You do the same.